Hello, welcome to another live Google Hangout on the Living Income Guaranteed. And today is our last Hangout of the year, to 2014. And to discuss this, we will be talking about participatory budgeting. And have you ever considered that our economy could be like a Kickstarted project that you could learn more about and propose and have your community voting on it? Well, today it is actually possible with this democratic instrument called participatory budgeting, and we will be discussing its role, how has it worked, the challenges, the future application of it, and how is it operating right now, for example, here in Mexico City. And we have today Arturo Flores from the Electoral Institute of Mexico City to discuss with us. Hello, Arturo. Welcome to the Hangout.
Hi, Marlen. How are you? It's great. I want to thank you for the invitation, and I'll be very happy to discuss with you all the issues related to the participatory budget.
Okay, so can you share with us, first of all, your position currently in the Electoral Institute?
Well, my position, I have been appointed recently the director for the Citizen Participation Department within the Institute. So this means that basically I will be in charge, well, the whole department, we will be in charge of the whole participatory budget initiative in Mexico City. And, well, we will have to organize next year participatory budget election, which takes place normally by the second week of November of next year. So that's my position. I started initially as an advisor to the Institute, and then since December the 1st, I was given this appointment, which I'm really pleased to have.
Great, and glad to have you here because we have quite a few questions of a not-so-known instrument, democratic instrument as participatory budgeting. And to remind our viewers, we will be having questions and comments open for you on the Google event, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can click on be part of this conversation and it will lead you to the Google event. So we're going to be talking for about 30 to 40 minutes, so make sure that your questions or comments coming through for Arturo throughout that transmission. So let's begin with the basics. What is participatory budgeting?
Well, basically, I'm going to tell you the story of the whole initiative, how it started. It took place in about the late 80s in Brazil, in a place called Porto Alegre. So this initiative was started by the Party of the Workers in Brazil, and it was started as an initiative to promote well, first of all, citizen involvement, but also as a way to stop corruption from local authorities. So it was thought that if the people had a say in the way the money, public money, was spent, then this would increase citizen involvement and bring empowerment to the population, as well as having the people involved in deciding the way the budget is spent, so they will be given the possibility to prioritize between different projects. And it was a very breakthrough, very important. As I said before, this took place in the late 1980s. In the beginning, it was very little of the budget which was put for participatory budgeting matters. But as the initiative grew, then more resources were put into it. Initially, it was about 0.5% of the budget, or less than 1% of the budget. And well, nowadays, it's about 18 to 20% in different countries. I also have to say that this, I think, is the most popular initiative that has been taken from the south to the north, which is something that usually doesn't happen with the public policies or initiatives. So I think it has become a really important public policy. I would say the most copied one for the last 25, 30 years, more or less. Currently, you have it implemented in the 5 continents, in more than 100 countries, and over 1,000 localities in the whole world. So you have got a very diverse way it has been implemented. You have it in very small localities or in large metropolitan areas like Mexico City, as we will discuss later.
Absolutely. So let's go through the steps. What are the benefits of it? Because I understand that, yes, it's like for the first time people's direct approach as to how they want to spend this portion of the public budget to things that matter to them, to things that we see are lacking in our community. So how does that prioritizing process take place?
Well, I think one of the best things that this initiative has brought to the local context is that you will have the community saying which are the priorities for X or Y community, and also I think that it brings a great deal of transparency to the way the money is spent. The money which citizens normally pay via taxation to local authorities, because this is the money which is going to be spent in the projects. So in my view, I think the policy has been so popular because it does bring the people together and empowers them at the same time, not only within the decision-making processes of learning more about your own community and prioritizing the projects you want to implement, but also it brings a very different relationship with authorities, because at different stages of the project, authorities have to go to forums to discuss projects with the public. So this also is convenient for local authorities, since they're going to have the possibility to discuss with the average citizens the way the public budget has to be spent. So in my view, when in places where you have had it implemented for over, let's say, 10 years or more, the cycles of the whole participatory budgeting have been really taken by citizens, and now they are really, they have it like in their hands. So it's not seen anymore as something that it's organized by authorities. It has been changed. There has been a switch to have it like in the hands of the citizens. So I think this is one of the greatest achievements of the whole initiative.
I would say that it's also very pertinent to remind ourselves that democracy in itself hasn't really existed. We've always been so used to having representatives in the government, and we only vote once every 4 or 6 years, and we forget about anything that has to do with making decisions of how our lives are affected at a community level and individually, of course. So I see this also as a relevant point wherein people have this direct input. However, let's discuss about the awareness of the people so far. I mean, you're working directly in Mexico City, so can you tell us more about this process that has been implemented recently?
Yes, I think I agree with you in the sense that this initiative was developed as a criticism to representative democracy. So the essence of the initiative is to move from a representative democracy to a participatory democracy, basically to give citizens the possibility to get involved directly in decision-making processes, as well as the issue of the budget. I would say that in the case of Mexico City, we have been having certain difficulties with the process. It is a very new process, I must say. It has been taking place only since 2010. So it has been a learning process for everyone, and well, perhaps the numbers of people taking part have not been the best, but still we keep on doing a lot of promotion via traditional means, and as well as all the websites and social networks and all that. So we expect to increase the levels of participation more and more, and it has been a very interesting learning experience for the city in itself. I must say that well, the role of the institute, the Electoral Institute, is to analyze the whole process and organize the way the election of project takes place, as well as the election of all the leaders which are involved, the citizens which are involved in the project. So for these matters, the city was divided into neighborhoods, 1,793 neighborhoods, and each of these neighborhoods, it's within one of the 16 local authorities in which the city is divided. So then you will have, like, within the 16 local authorities, you will have a committee which decides which projects are the best to be taking place within the participatory budget initiative. So it's a process which lasts the whole year round. And as I said before, well, we haven't had the numbers we would like to have in the future, but I think it is a very positive example of how citizen involvement can actually bring greater transparency and democracy to the local authorities.
Can you walk us through, in a very synthesized manner, how does it start, or where does it start, and the steps that follow through to kind of see the cycle completed, so to speak?
Yeah, so the cycle starts when the budget is approved in December, actually this month, of each year. So once the budget is approved, then 3% of each of the 16 local authorities is going to be used for these purposes. Roughly, we are talking about over $50 million. This was the budget for last year. This year, it hasn't been published yet, the actual budget, but it shall be around the same amount, about $50 million or over a bit more. And basically, once this amount is established, then all the people from the 1,793 citizen committees will have the possibility to bring their project to each of the 16 local authorities in which the city is divided. Within these 16 local authorities, there is a committee which analyzes each project. You know, whether the project has got the right structure, or whether all the number crunching is correct or not, whether the cost and all that. And basically what they will do is decide which are the best projects for each of the neighborhoods. This is a process which starts around April, May, and the projects have to be by August of each year. They should be within each of the 16 local authorities. Then between August and October, the process of selecting and prioritizing each of the projects takes place. You could have neighborhoods where you have one project, or you could have up to 5 projects within each neighborhood. So, but this is the job of the local committee to select each project and to see which are the best projects for that community in particular. So after this process finishes, then the Electoral Institute will receive all the lists of the projects which were approved, and all these projects are going to be put in a sort of ballots, where the citizens then will decide which of these projects they vote for. So in the month of November, then this election process takes place, and you will have one winner project for each local, well, it's not local, it's for each citizen committee in which the city is divided. So you will have 1,793 projects basically approved. When this list is published by the Electoral Institute, then it is sent to the local authorities, and to the government of Mexico City. So this each of these projects has to match the budget which was put in the beginning, and this all the projects of, let's say, 2014 are going to be built in 2015. And so next year we will see all the projects that were approved this year will be built next year, and so the process will start again in 2015, basically.
And how do people follow through with the process? I mean, voting is one aspect, so once that's done, is there a way to give a following through the construction, for example, of these projects?
Yes, well, there is a way which unfortunately it doesn't take place via the institute, the Electoral Institute. They will have to seek the information via a public information office, which operates in Mexico City. So every 3 months they publish all the way the projects are put in practice, and people have the possibility to ask for information of each of the projects, and they should be provided this information by this authority. As I said, unfortunately, the Electoral Institute cannot do anything in this matter. I mean, we could provide advice or tell people where to go, but as an institution, we haven't got this possibility. I hope that in the future we can have some reforms so that the Electoral Institute also has the possibility to provide this sort of budgetary information, which currently we cannot do.
Yes, we will be talking a little bit further into this relationship of this organization by the people in the form of participatory budgeting, and then how it relates to the relationship with the government. But before that, we have a question from Gabriel Aceves, and he's saying, hi, by many years the people has pushed for many democratic means that pretend to impulse these proposals of bringing back the power to the people. Nevertheless, it seems to always be obstructed or constricted by corruption and also a lot of, let me select this, apathy by the people. So what is the procedure or the strategy that has made this proposal more effective than others, or has it been?
Yeah, well, I think that, well, I agree in the sense that sometimes I think the people who open these spaces for democracy and participation are a bit afraid of, where would all this lead to? In the sense that the people could be empowered or not. But in essence, I think that the way that participatory budgeting has evolved not only in Mexico but in the rest of the world is that at the beginning, well, the public are a bit skeptical and they maybe do not participate as expected. But in the long run, I think that once they get the confidence and once they get it really involved in the whole project, they can really push local authorities, or in this case, the authorities of Mexico City, to have a greater spaces of democracy and transparency, which is, I think that at the end of the day, what this initiative seeks is basically to have greater democratic institutions and also to have greater transparency and less corruption. So at the end of the day, I think that citizens, they could experience all this empowerment process. It's not going to be, within 1 year or 2 years. It's a long time experience, and it has happened in other countries. I mean, in the case of Brazil, where this initiative started, at the beginning, you still had the same links between maybe political parties, unions, or political types of leadership with the way the initiative was implemented. But the public, the general public, citizens, little by little took those spaces of power and really used them as citizen spaces. So each time you had less intervention of political leaders or people from the parties or whatever, and you had more citizen spaces. So I assume it is a matter of time. I would say that, well, I understand that the population expect to have immediate results, you know, when you carry out public policy, but we have to explain to them that this is a long-term initiative, and that the learning curve of citizens is going to take a while. It's not like from one day to the next. But I strongly believe that if we are patient as citizens and we participate and communicate and understand all the proceedings, then we're going to have many experts in the way the whole initiative works, which is what we need. We need to have citizen experts so that institutions could work better. So that would be my bet, that this is going to be a long-term process, and that, well, citizens have a very important role. So things are not just going to happen for, you know, like miraculously. I mean, it's not like that. Citizens, we have to take a role and demand and ask, you know, for authorities for to explain how you know, public resources are spent, and to respect democratic processes, etc. So I would say that I think that, you know, it's going to take a while, but I'm sure that it's going to work in the long run. If citizens take a role, if they do not do it, then, you know, you are going to still having the dominance of other actors, which are not necessarily what would be the best for democratic processes.
Yes, I see that one of the obstacles that we are dealing with here in Mexico and probably all around the world is the great distrust that exists toward anything that has to do with politics, anything that has to do with government. And throughout these Hangouts, we have very much emphasized the point that you're just mentioning, which is that we have to become the ones that are actively participating or even getting into politics, because that's where real changes can be produced. So here we also agree with your perspective on we have to be the ones that now make sure that organizations and instruments of democracy like participatory budgeting are actually taking place in an effective manner by our own participation. So we do have to deal with apathy, but I guess that this will also be something that will be dwindled once that it is proven that it does work, that it's, you know, bringing visible results that people can attest and say, oh, this is really working, let's participate maybe next year, you know. That's my perspective in how we can move forward with it. We have another comment question from Yogan Barrientos. Hi, I have a comment observation. If everyone can vote and determine what the budget is, this means that they can determine how all of their tax money is spent. Money is the lifeblood for all government programs, so everyone will have a direct say in all matters. So,
yeah, well, in this case, what the citizen participation law of Mexico City has established is 3% of the budget of each local authority. So this is the budget which has been decided to be provided for citizen decision making. I understand the sense of the question, and I agree that ideally we should have a say in the way all the budget is spent, because it's money that we pay via taxation. But unfortunately, there are many projects, and also you have all the public servants that you have to pay, and all these people that work for the government. So it will be very difficult to have like to have people deciding over 100% of the budget. So I think this initiative is positive in the sense that at least there has been some recognition of the importance of having citizens deciding the way a budget is spent. I think that maybe 3% perhaps is very little or a lot. It depends on how you view things and on your perspective of each citizen. But I think that in the whole of Mexico there hasn't been another example put in practice with this, percentage of resources to actually provide them to the citizenry to have a say. So, as I said, I think the initiative is a step in the right direction, maybe a small one, but still is a step in the right direction. So, in my view, there must be greater citizen involvement, awareness, and criticism about the way the whole initiative works. Because the only thing it's going to do is to consolidate, improve, and actually put pressure on authorities to have a better exercise of this participatory budgeting. So the more the people are aware about the initiative and the more they participate, and especially young people, I think, they really have to take this into their hands and promote projects which benefit the young citizens of Mexico City. I mean, I do not know whether you know which projects are the ones which could be taking place within the participatory budgeting. But I can tell you that initiatives such as having free Wi-Fi, or having a computer center, or having I don't know, perhaps a sport facility, all these things can be voted within these initiatives. And if we have, for example, young people bringing their projects and defending the projects within each of the 16 local authorities, I think this is going to bring greater awareness of the way the initiative works, and also you're going to have projects which benefit the younger sectors of the population, which in recent times I think they require all these spaces for entertainment, to do sports, to I don't know, just to, now if you do not have internet, I mean, it's very difficult to communicate and all that. And if you vote or develop an internet project, imagine all the benefits that you can have with this. These are just examples about projects which can be discussed and bring up by young citizens. But if young citizens do not want to take their role, or are just critical but not active about, looking for solutions, then nothing is going to happen. So nothing is going to happen, and things are not going to work.
And this is actually like a call for people in Mexico City that we see in the news. We see in the news that there is always people right now in protest, and it's well known by everyone that there's a second Mexican Revolution. As we've said many times in these hangouts, protesting and vandalizing is not the way. So this is for people of Mexico City. We should do also a Spanish one, because it's very important that people then rather get into these kind of political exercises where their voice can actually matter instead of just complaining about the government. So thanks for that explanation. Yogan is saying thank you. Mm-hmm. And then we have another question. Arturo, do you see that such projects and people's participation in it changes people's sense of self-responsibility and their sense of political power over time? This is from Gabriel Zamora Moreno from Belgium.
Well, I think that the responsibility and the way citizens get involved in these initiatives, it certainly changes their view, because they are going to realize that it isn't that easy at the beginning to have a budget dedicated for decision-making processes. Then they will realize that it isn't that easy to make a project. then they would realize that they will have to debate or defend their project in an open space, an open forum, when other citizens have got other projects. So I think that this is part of an educational process, which it's long term. It's not one day to the next. And in my view, all these are benefits which if citizens really have a value of their time and the abilities they develop are very important as well. And also they will be in constant contact with their fellow citizens, and they can share all these different views about local issues, local problems, and try to find solutions to them, and try to find which projects will benefit more. Perhaps one day you say, one year you say, well, in my neighborhood we require this and that, and so you discuss it with your neighbors, and then they will say, well, okay, we also have got a lack of, I don't know, something, another project, but we realize that yours is prior, you know, it should be first. And so I think the whole experience, what brings is a new way to develop. It would be like citizen involvement, but also awareness. And also all the democratic values, because you will be voting for each of these. Initially, you vote for your local leader, for your community leader, and then you vote for each project. You have to discuss, you have to. So if we go to the basics of participatory democracy in a even in a very naive way, or ideal way, we will be very Rousseauian, you know, having people discussing public issues and deciding over what to do and this and that, which is something ideal. I know we do not do that anymore, but but it could take place. I mean, and I have seen it taking place. As I said before, I mean, this is, I think, one of the largest participatory budgeting worldwide. I think this one, the one in South Korea and in some other countries, they're, you know, as large as this one. You're talking about in Mexico City, nearly 9 million people getting involved and deciding over a $15 million budget, which is a very large amount of money and of people. And putting all these people in this context and with these conditions is going to be very complex, and it has been very complex. But still, I think that the principles which this initiative brings to the citizens, it's a positive thing to do, in my view. And it is not a coincidence that, as I said before, it has been taking place in many countries, in the 5 continents, everywhere. So I guess that in the long run, well, this is going to evolve over, you know, having a better democratic experience in the end, which I think is one of the aims of the project. I'm also aware of all the faults and all the flaws and all the things that have gone wrong with some examples, including the Mexican one. But still, I believe that this initiative has to consolidate in the future. It will consolidate.
And can you tell us about the role of the government in there? Is there a veto that the government can place to this use of money, or do they have the final say, so to speak, or how does that operate?
Well, the government, they propose these 3% for the participatory budget, and they make it a law. So it is within the legislation that 3% of the budget, well, at least in the case of Mexico City, it is like that. And I think that the role of authorities is crucial. Well, it was crucial to start the initiative. But still there are many ways to improve, many things to improve in the way the initiative has been carried out. At the local level, we have seen how you know, sometimes there has been the intervention of a political party, a local leader, this or that, within the process or within the discussions of projects, wanting to put projects which are not necessarily a priority or which are motivated by personal interests. And, well, it has taken place. And as I said before, if people do not get involved at these times, then this will continue taking place because different local types of leaderships could say, well, anyway, people do not come, so I can still be putting my projects, you know, in the first place of the list, and then nothing will happen. No one is going to protest, no one is going to say anything. So I think that authorities have a very important role to first to make some amendments which are required to the legislation so that it works better, but also in the sense of being like the organizer, but also to have an active say in all the aspects of transparency which are important, which are you know, are crucial to consolidate this initiative. I think that, well, the way it operates here is that the Electoral Institute organizes the election and the all the follow-up of the projects, but up to certain points, and there is no proper follow-up of the institute for financial matters, for instance. So perhaps also to have the government working along with the institute to have, you know, a greater to provide a greater deal of transparency to the institute so that it acts in a better way or in a more coordinated way with citizens and the way they follow up each project. I think that would be very important. I think that if this was only a citizen project, purely citizen, I think that perhaps it would still require some involvement of the government at some point, because in my view it has to be an interaction between citizens and authorities the whole time. You cannot give it like all the power to the government or all the power to the citizen. In my view, this type of project is about sharing power and sharing responsibilities and being part of the whole initiative as you know, like saying that you live in the determined country or a determined city, and you have authorities and you have citizens, and you have each of them has got a role, but there is still some interaction which needs to be increased. So it's what we were discussing a while ago about the criticism to representative democracy and how participatory democracy has got to take a more active role in the whole picture.
Absolutely. We have a comment from Gabriela Seves once again. He's saying, Arturo, to impulse such proposals, couldn't we also give some sort of incentive to people to also make them or have them be more interested in the project? Like thinking, for example, in proposing that they would be able to have a direct dialogue with the authorities that will be involved in the process of developing their project, and also give them the real opportunity of being participants of their very project, for example, I guess at working on them, and to make a proposal more attractive, so to speak.
Yes, well, I think that it is very important to have a dialogue and to increase, well, the awareness of the whole initiative and how it works, and making greater promotion. And I think that it's crucial to have young people involved in this project. In my view, I think there has been a lack of attention to all the young people of Mexico City. There have been several programs which have been quite successful, but still I think there is a lack of communication and a lack of you know, like awareness, and a lack of many things which authorities have to improve their communication channels, not only with the with the adult community, but also with the youngsters. I think that the greater there is communication between authorities and citizens of all ages, then this initiative is going to consolidate. I'm a strong believer in democratic values and participatory democracy and all these things, which sound very ideal, but which I think have to be put in practice in a way. So, but citizens do need to realize that their role is very important. And I think that in Mexico, still many people think that the government is going to solve everything for them. And that shouldn't be the case anymore. I mean, we have realized for many years that if you expect the government to solve your whole life, then I think you are in a big mistake. Citizens have to grow and evolve and be responsible, for all their actions, but also demand more from the government. They need to learn more about all these type of initiatives, projects, different things which are taking place. And I think that people are aware, actually, in many ways. I think that if we compare the way the Mexican citizens were about 10 years ago and the way they are now, we would see that there is a greater increase of participation and of awareness of this and that. But still, there are many things to be done. And it's crucial to have greater communication of channels to work within the government and outside the government. I think there are many things still to work on, but I guess these channels do open the possibility to have a constant interaction between authorities and citizens, which is essential for any authority.
Yes, it should be a symbiotic relationship, and realizing, I would say that the incentive is the fact that you will see your money being invested into something that will benefit you and your community, which what is better than that, talking about these governmental aspects. So I would say that that is my perspective. And we have also another comment from Valentin Rosman. He's saying, very cool chat, thanks for all the information. Here in the Maribor city of Slovenia country in Europe, we started participatory budgeting initiative only last year, and we hope to be implemented as soon as possible due to its benefits for local community. Thanks, Valentin.
Great.
Then, yes, and we have another comment from Gabriel. Exactly, the authorities can't be left with the responsibility for everything. That's a real responsibility and power back to the people. Thank you. So to finalize the hangout, I'd like you to share a little bit about the successful stories of participatory budgeting, if you have some examples.
Yes, well, worldwide, the most successful example has been Porto Alegre in Brazil. It was where the whole thing started. And, it has been the best experience, I think, in my view, although there have been some recent criticisms about the way it works now, but still I think, the way it expanded and the way it was exported from the south to the north, I think it has a very big value. It gives an added value, special value to this policy. There are cases like Uruguay as well, Montevideo, which is a case where they do not have a legislation and they still carry out the participatory budgeting. I think here the success is that the public took the initiative in their hands and have taken it to a different level. Although you have had different parties in power, this hasn't had any impact on the way the initiative has been carried out. There are also cases in France, in Germany, in Spain, which have been quite successful as well. And I think that in Latin America and, well, in general, each country defines in a different way the participatory budgeting. But still, the essence of the initiative is the same: to have a budget being shared with citizens and having an input about the way citizens work, their decision-making processes towards local projects and how to prioritize all these projects. Here in the case of Mexico City, I think there have been several stories of success as well, in terms of having very innovative projects, or having the people that used to fight got together and got this project, for instance, or people with very different aims gathered because they realized that the neighbor wanted this or that. That sort of thing has taken place here. As I said before, there are still many things to improve. I'm not saying by any means that the initiative works perfectly or anything like that, but I think that the more the initiative has been known by the population, the more people have taken place, and the more that we could consolidate all these projects. I guess the use of technology is going to be another important thing to work in the future. There are several examples where technology is a crucial part, where all the voting takes place via internet, and they use, you have an app for the whole thing. And well, we're working on that here in Mexico City as well, to try to facilitate the way the people communicate and decide and vote within the initiatives. So all this, I think, is going to bring out a more solid project in the future.
Great, and thank you very much for this informative chat and conversation on this topic that is gaining momentum, I would say, because we are in very need of this kind of application of direct democracy. Because yes, we want direct democracy, but how do we apply it? So I would say that participatory budgeting is part of it, and I also agree with the fact that we have to be the ones that make it work, that make it effective. So thank you very much for that, and we will be giving a continuation to this as time progresses, maybe.
Okay.
So thank you, and thank you the viewer as well, and we will see you for another hangout next year, so stay tuned. Goodbye, Arturo.
Thank you, Marlen. Bye. See you.